That's the video. So for the first team Argentina, I have the two slowest writers and then the most advanced kid. And they're all incredibly bright. Again, this is an incredibly advanced class, but they do take longer. So I knew that they would take longer. So I wanted to be able to have them do it first. And then they could take a break because it was like a lot of writing for them. So they started it. And then it was also like with anything new that you've never done before, even as a teacher, you're like, oh, okay, this isn't working. We're going to do this. And you end up like pivoting halfway through. So like now I know for next time, like, oh yeah, that didn't work at all.
Yeah.
So after that, I would say it took maybe ADHD time blindness, maybe about 15 minutes, I feel, in retrospect. I was not looking at the clock, probably should have.
Right.
But, like, they were, oh, yeah, so then Argentina, they did about half, and then they took a break, and then
Yeah.
they went back to it later, and, like, I had Team Japan do theirs, and then Argentina went back to it, and then the next day I had Mexico and China do theirs, and I finished theirs maybe in, like, 45 minutes, I'd say, the next day, and we haven't started because, again, it was a lot. It's pretty intensive for kids that young,
Right.
so we haven't even started the presentations yet, the template for like the little slideshows. And again, like I made the templates. So they just gotta like with me, I'll do it with them and drag and drop and they'll tell me what to
Yeah.
do.
Be cool for them to like learn how to do that though. That's pretty neat. It's amazing how quickly they can learn how to do that.
Yeah. And like I taught them about like for the ones they had like three interesting facts. Like it was like landmarks, food, like three
Yeah.
interesting facts. And I like told them you don't need to write the whole sentence, like just keywords. So these are the important words. Told them like what important words. And, like just say like you remember. Like this is just for you to remember. So like I sped it up that way too.
Yeah.
Um so the funny thing is I wrote this lesson plan ages ago because I knew that they were interested in countries and they were like really into maps, which is really fun because I'm like, yes, I want to do this too. Yeah, let's do it. And
Uh,
like they're speeding through everything so fast. And there's a difference between like kids who are speeding through it and they're not like retaining it versus kids who are like, this is just, I get it. Yeah, let's just move it. So I've been like moving through the stuff where I think it's below their level. So we had time to take on this stuff, but I didn't think we would get to do this because we're supposed to be preparing research and like they have to write 8 to 10 sentences on a planet. And that's what I was supposed to be doing this week because that's for open house. And so
right.
I kept it's at the end of the month, so I wanted to get it early because like that's a big undertaking for them. But then the books kept getting delayed. And I found out later, I'm pretty sure they had them all week, my co-teacher, but didn't want to give me the books because it's a June book and not a May book. When the whole
Oh my
point
god.
was, yeah, welcome to Korea. Yeah. So like I wanted to make this video for
Yeah.
me for my final project
Yeah. Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
I wanted to give them the time to do this like massive undertaking. And so I pivoted real quick. And that's why I delayed like a week. I'm a week behind what I was hoping to do because I'm like, okay, I'll start the week early
Yeah.
on solar system. And that's perfect for me. You know, I got a little wiggle room. Yeah, let's do that. And so I'm
No.
like, oh shit. Okay. So then I pulled this out from I did ages ago because I wanted to do it and hadn't been planning on it. And then I just fixed a whole bunch of stuff that made it a little bit more in alignment with like the solar system project. So that way they had some prior research
Yeah.
experience, um, instead of having to figure that out then. So we could do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
So this will
pivot,
be
pivot,
great
pivot.
for them, and then when you go to the one in the June book, they'll be ready to go.
And that's the thing. And it's still really difficult, but it's not like I'm not pushing them harder than their abilities. And again, I think that I give like a lot of support. Like I was there every step of the research for research and like helping them
Yeah.
put it together. And also that this is a requirement for them having to do like the same thing next month. But the nice thing is next or this week, I guess. Woo, right after this one, so probably on Friday. Oh, it's quick. Time has no meaning, I swear to God. Is that with this they had me like right there with them. And I had them teams of two to like kind of give them a lot more not even like ability, like I don't think it made them even necessarily better at it. I think it just made them more confident having a teammate. And that's I think sometimes some of
Yeah.
my students lack confidence.
Yeah.
So it was fun. I liked it a lot. I learned a lot, which was really great. I'm like, oh, that's what you call a traditional house in Japan. It's Manchaya. Okay, cool. Like
Yeah.
it was really fun. So I got to
And look
learn.
at you taking off that box about what was the outcome that has to do with other cultures and all that good stuff.
It's
Check.
fun when like ignorance pays off. Like, I didn't know that. Like, discovery.
So how did the other kids do with the choice board while you were working with your
Amazing.
groups?
Amazing. I thought I was gonna have to step in a lot more than I did. And again, like these books, some of them are like the easy ones. I'm like, oh, let's just get this done with. It's below your
Yeah.
level. But my kids have surpassed the expectations for what they were at. So there's like a bunch of books that, and I'm pushing for harder and harder books all the time, which is great. And they're like, I'm slowly getting those. Um, so, but there's also a whole bunch of like quite difficult books that I add to the choice board to give themselves
Yeah.
some, so it's like a good balance. I thought of like harder stuff that's going to take
Yeah.
them longer than the quicker stuff that they know how to do, and then just kind of bang through. Um, and I thought I was gonna have to step in and help a lot more than I did. And I kept looking around like, you guys need me? Like, and I told them, like, okay, I'm gonna go home and take a nap. I'll be back in an hour. Like
Well,
it
that
felt
does
like that.
show
Like
that
they
you've done a good job, clearly, of like establishing those routines and that structure is there, that they knew what to do, right? Because that's
yeah.
what I find our teachers complain the most about, right? If they're trying to do any kind of small group instruction or guided reading, or it's like, what are all the rest of the kids doing? Well, you
Mm,
say you got to practice, you got to teach them, you have to practice, you have to build stamina, right? So they can do the things you need them to do without bugging you while you're working with a small group or partners or whatever. So clearly you've
yeah.
done, they
I
didn't
was
harass you.
I was pretty happy with that. And again, like I had a couple of students who I mean, they still have bad days where like they get in contact, like in conflict with their friends. And so to separate them from their friends. We talk about like the ones that fight like brothers. I'm like, all right, you guys are not working together because I don't want to listen to that for the next 30 minutes. I'm trying to do this. So I set them up with people that I know that they have an easier time working with. And yeah, it went amazingly well. And on top of that, I loved that I was able to give so much attention to each group.
Yeah.
And so there's some stuff that like I could have taught them more in depth all together, but I thought like things like landmarks and talking about traditional food and clothes, I thought about them like I could do it all together with them, or I could just get right into it and explain it as we're going, and then they can physically see it. And again, like these kids, most of them are like they're incredibly privileged,
Yeah.
right? So it makes it a little bit easier talking about passports. They're like, oh, I got one of those. I got like 20 stamps. You know what I mean? And they're like,
Yeah.
I got it. We get
You
that when
said
we go to
you
the
only have
airport.
one
Yeah,
student
only
that
one who has it, which, you know, like she's still very privileged. She just hasn't traveled much, so I don't feel
Yeah.
too bad for her. She'll get there. So she's like, they have like a concept of travel in different countries and like they go abroad a lot. Like Jay-Z just came back from Osaka. Another kid just came back from Tokyo. Another kid just came back from a month. Like June came back from a month in America a few months ago. And so they're
Then,
like,
like rattling off the name of countries, right? Like how
oh
many
yeah.
6-year-olds will tell you a bunch of countries in the world,
And
right?
most of them can't do it, or they don't have a concept even of a country, let alone names. And they get it. They're like, oh, it's another place, you know, where they do things differently. And like, you know, and it's like on a map and like we did the continents. And what I really liked, like there's times when you use a video where it's just a filler, you know what I mean? Where you're just like, okay, I need 2 minutes to set this up, kids, just watch this in peace, which like I'm not faulting anyone or myself when we do that because we literally need time to set things up. You know what I mean? Like that time doesn't come out of nowhere. But I really liked the Yakko's World video with all the countries. One, it's super fun. And the
Yeah.
kids, I love them. I'm like, wait, that's a lot of countries. When
Yeah.
it dawns on them, they physically see it.
Yeah.
It just keeps going and going and going and going. And also hearing all those countries, I think it like set something like they're like, oh yeah, okay, I've heard of that one, I've heard of that one, I've heard of that one. So they can associate it with it. So and it's just really fun. I think I watched it a few hundred times just because I like it.
Yeah.
So I think that part really worked. One thing that did not work, and I was overly ambitious, and I don't know why I did this to myself. So on the choice board, I had to do also speaking tests where I take the kids out of the room individually and ask them 10 questions. They have to rattle off like memorized answers. And I put that on the choice board.
How did you think you were going to do that, Megan?
No idea. No idea. In retrospect, but I didn't want to discourage them from choosing that because I gave them a choice board. And I was already discouraging them to put game on one, and I kept telling them they can start that. Okay, so but that's a part of why Argentina took a break. It just worked out for 2 reasons. Like, all right, okay, take a break, and then I'm gonna rattle through all the speaking tests. At one point, I tried to take 2 kids out like at a team to do speaking tests and alternate, and I'm like, oh, that's not working. Okay, abort, and then like switching, and I'm like, so it's one of those things. But I also think it was the desperation of like, one, it was already a busy day of like having to do the speaking test, and 2, being a week behind on getting this assignment done because I was waiting on those stupid books from the solar system that I got like, you know, from my co-teacher. Oh, and literally, guess what she walked through with at the end of the day? Immediately after filming my video.
Uh-oh.
You good? Yeah,
Yeah,
immediately after we were filming.
I might have to get a cord for my cord. Pause it for a second.
Yep. I think that I wish I had a timer in here for how long. Yeah, I gotta go in like 2 minutes.
Tell me about Colin. Is his name Colin? Is that his name?
Colin. He's had some stuff come up lately, and I'm actually really concerned about him. He's pooped his pants twice in class in the past week, and he's like with June, like aggressively like grabbing his hand when like he's been told not to touch other students. He like flashed himself in the bathroom twice last week. Like flashes, yeah.
Huh?
None of that's good, and it happening in a really short span. I'm like concerned, and I already told my co-teacher that like there's something going on that I don't like.
Behavior. They're trying to tell you something with behavior usually, right?
When it's all in like a really short time, and it has, you know what I mean? Like none of those things on its own is already like a concerning, and then all of it together. But I took him out specifically. I left that in the video, I think, where I took him out of class because of like, I'm like, you can't be touching other kids when they told you not to touch them. Like that's something I would like sometimes behavior chart, like I'll just take away a point, but like that's something I'm like, you need to stop this. Like this is not okay. So I took him out. You know, like the consent issue, like he doesn't want you all over him and you're distracting people. He's good and he's bright. He was basically start up year as the top student, I would say, because his mom like really pushes him. But now like the other kids are catching up, which is like good. That's where they should be. But now I think that he's like kind of lacking confidence because of that. Because he's not the top dog. Yeah, exactly. So I think that's definitely part of it. And I think he's feeling, and he's slowing down his writing to make it neater. So he's taking longer with things that I think he's just feeling like part of it is like a confidence thing. So that sucks. But like I'm aware of it and I'm seeing it and I'm kind of just keeping an eye on him. But when he was with someone who was a little bit lower level, I could see his confidence go up when he could like have more say in the group. Yeah. And then Henry, who was like a little bit of my hellion in class, he still has like conflicts with people and like can't line up nicely sometimes because he has to be first. He'll like shoulder check people to get in first. But like amazing like focus and like work ethic in class, and like as long as there's no conflict or feeling like he's just like working away and he's happy and he's writing these amazing sentences, when before he was like really lazy about it when trying to write like 3-word sentences and all that, and now he like pushes himself. And then when I praise him for his sentences, and you see him like the glow. So
raise the expectations too, right? And it sounds like that Henry is like he's all about that. Yeah, I can show you what I can do.
The more challenging the work I give him, the more he's just like in the zone. You know what I mean? Which is funny because like it's kind of the opposite effect with Colin right now when he's not immediately getting it. It isn't the top dog that he's feeling a little bit like threatened. So it's interesting to see how the same things are affecting both of them.
Like, is that, I mean, I don't know how your school works. Like, is that possible for, like, have you had conversations with Colin? Like, hey, buddy, what's going on?
Yeah.
Is he able to articulate anything? Or
Not yet. And I think that it's harder for them to express their feelings with me because it's not their native language. And my co-teacher hasn't really addressed it directly with him yet, but she's like been in contact with his mom. I do have like weekly little chats with each of my kids where I pull them aside and like say, hey, this is what you're doing really awesome at. I really love you did this. This is something that we're working on. Like you need to like write faster and like, and like please like, pay attention when you're doing this. I know it's harder and like, hey, like don't work on conflicts with friends, whatever, right? The plus is the things I'm really, really proud about them. And then I ask what they're proud of what they're doing and what they want to get better at and what I want them to get better at. So I think he's also feeling so sensitive right now that I'm not trying to point out his faults as much. Because I don't think that I think with where he's at right now, I don't think he'll be receptive to it. I think that he'll just feel lower confidence about it. So
we
I'm
do
like
kind of
kind of
wonder
waiting.
what's going on with it. Maybe if
Something is happening and I don't like whatever's happening and I'm gonna keep pushing the co-teacher to like find out. Because like I said, all of those things together I think are concerning.
well, because if
And
it's a home thing though, too, right? Like,
it feels like a home thing for sure. It feels like a home thing. And like I think those are some red flag behaviors all grouped together.
oh, for sure, for sure.
So I need to, but it's hard in a culture like Korea.
Yeah.
It's harder.
That's what I wondered, right? A little bit stuck.
As a native English speaker, not a Korean, to like navigate that and how to navigate that, which is why I'm like, and again, working at a private kindergarten with very much a business with very wealthy, very affluent, very like powerful people. Sometimes it's like a harder thing to navigate.
That's
So there's a certain way to do things.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's very much how Korea is. So I'm still going to keep pushing for it. I'm going to keep watching, going to document, and then we'll see. Oh yeah, it's hard. Okay, I think that's pretty much everything. I think we're running out of time. I could talk about it all day. I could. So.
You need to go to work, right?
Yep. Yay.
Like, go home.
I'm gonna finish the
Yay.
templates. I'll send it to you. I should send her pictures of their little passports. They're so cute. And I made them like line up for the passport pictures and I just put the white line down, like, hey, you stand here, no smiling. Okay, like this, like proper passport pictures, like put them in and like explain why you don't smile. It was so fun.
Oh yeah.
They loved having it on their desk all day. It was adorable.
Oh yeah, I'll share it with me. I'd love to see it.
Yeah. Okay.
Good.